Welcome to the Invest for More Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Ferguson, and I am your host. I'm a house flipper. I flip 10 to 15 houses a year. I own 13 rental properties with a goal to buy 100 by 2023. I'm also a real estate agent. I've been licensed since '01. I run a team of 9. We sell close to 200 houses a year. So on this show, we like to interview house flippers, landlords, and the best real estate agents in the business. So stay tuned for some great shows. If you want more information on my rentals, on the numbers, how I buy properties, check out investformore.com. Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. Welcome to another podcast on the Invest for More Real Estate Podcast. Today, I have a very cool guest, Hendon, who is a realtor with Christine and Company and Keller Williams. He was voted Rising Star in Seattle by Seattle Magazine. Extremely successful agent, realtor. Really excited to talk to him, figure out how he got into the business, how he's become successful, and tips he has for other agents, homeowners, all kinds of great stuff coming up on this show. Aaron, how are you doing? And thank you for being on the show.
Well, thanks so much, Mark. I'm doing great this morning. Beautiful day.
Great. Well, I know you're in a crazy market in Seattle, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into the markets and what's going on, how did you get started in real estate? You know, what drew you to the business and how did it all happen?
Great. Well, the easy answer is it's all about the Benjamins. That's what drew me to this. I've been in various sales positions. I started my own bakery, ran a bakery for years in Albuquerque. And so I've done a lot of different things, sales, entrepreneurial. And at one point I got laid off from a sales job from a tech company just after the downturn and started selling credit repair services. I was smiling and dialing. They gave me a list that I would smile and dial. And I thought, who do I know that could provide me with leads? And I thought, well, realtors might be able to provide me with clients, leads for credit repair people. So I started calling all the realtors that I know, telling them what I was doing, telling them about this company, blah, blah, blah. And, one of the things, the activity was I, would do $100 a day. And this was not with a speed dialer. This was just hand dialing. And to the one, every realtor I talked to said, dude, with your skill set, and if you're going to do $100 a day, you should be in real estate because you will kill it. You'll, make way more money, have a way better life. And, anyone who does $100 a day is going to make it. And it took about a year for me to hear it. And I made the leap at some point. And, not at some point, in September of 5 years ago, whatever that is, 2012. And
yep.
Time is messed up, right? So, so I made the leap. And never looked back. Only regret is I didn't do it sooner. It's the best business decision I ever made was becoming a realtor. Love helping people at this stage in their life. The money's great. The flexibility is great. It's entrepreneurial. It has so much to offer. Both sides of the equation, customer and realtor. It's just fabulous. Love it. Really a self-expression for me.
Yeah, no, but I agree. And it's funny that that's the background you came from. One of the best agents on our team, who actually he recently left our team, but he did really well for us right off the bat. He worked in a call center before he joined our team. So that's what he did too. And he had, he just called people all the time. And It's one of the best ways to make money in this business. I know there's so many online lead generators and, email marketing, but it's tough to replace phone calls in the real estate business.
Yeah.
So you started 5 years ago. How did you do your first year or first 2 years? How long did it take to really get in the groove and start making money?
Let's see. I got my license in June, and then I didn't do anything with it till September. I had a sales position, so between credit repair and real estate, I took a sales management position, and I could see the writing on the wall on that job that it wasn't going to go anywhere. So I studied for my license, and I got licensed in June, and then I got let go from that job, or I quit, whichever spin you want to put on it. But I left that job in September, and in October, I talked to a very good friend who was a very successful agent over at KW in Seattle, and said, I want to be on your team. And she said, well, I don't have a team. And I said, well, you do now. And that's how I did it. So I jumped in with her. and made her train me. And we've been running this team together and expanding. And I think we have like 14 agents now. So so that was October. And I just put my head down and I did contacts, and I did the course Keller Williams offered called Bold, which was fabulous, really sort of hardcore prospecting kind of stuff. And, I put my head down. And so October, November, December, January, I had my first deal in February. Probably did 3 deals between February and my first anniversary in June. And then I did 14 deals the first year and been increasing ever since. I think I'm online to do 40 this year. It's how I got started was I pitched my wagon to someone who was great at it, and I drafted behind her, and I did the work while I was drafting behind her. I mean, you just sit there, and I think it's a super easy business for people to be successful in. And it's, you do not have to reinvent the wheel in this business. If you're willing to work, you get business. There's just no two ways about it. People are out there buying and selling, and your job is to get in front of them. So all you have to do is get in front of them. So that's how I did it. I just put my head down and I worked.
That's great. And I'm curious too, 3 deals may not sound like a lot your first year, 14, but your average price in Seattle's pretty high. So I imagine those are pretty high dollar deals.
Yeah, well, relative to the country for sure. I mean, okay, so 5 years ago, it's not funny, but whatever. The median price in King County when I started was in the mid 3s. And in the past 5 years, it's now doubled. It's now in the mid 7s. So It's been a very hot year, hot 5 years for appreciation in real estate values, which doesn't make it particularly easier for an agent. I mean, especially given the source of the increase, the source of the jump is a decrease in inventory. So it makes buying and finding people to sell that much harder. I mean, it's more lucrative when you do find one, but there's way less of them and more people competing for them. So people have it's a funny question. How's the market? Which is really different than how's your business? And, people think, because the market's doubling in value every 5 years or whatever, that's really easy to be a realtor. And it's not true. It really is neither easy nor hard. The prices don't make it easy or hard.
Right. And I would agree with that.
More money in your pocket when you find one.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. I think I get a lot of questions from people saying, hey, can you make a lot more money in a more expensive market? And I think the answer to that is you can if you're one of the top agents and really working at it, but you also have a lot more competition and usually a lot fewer houses are selling at that price than, more affordable markets.
Yeah, exactly right. That's right. I mean, we were just talking about this at one of our team meetings the other day, and, we were talking about the value and downside of I went on a listing appointment for a house that we thought was going to be $3 million, and there was a real conversation on my team about we probably don't want to list a $3 million house because it's going to sit for 3 months and it's going to take all kinds of expense to get listed, and who knows, and it's a whole different animal than a $600,000 listing, which is, I don't know where people are listening from. It's not in Denver. You probably cut those numbers in half, but the point is, fast dime, slow dollar. You make a fast dime, say $500,000 listings. I'll take everyone I can get because those things are going to sit on the market for 5 days, and I'm going to get them sold, and people are going to be happy and delighted. And a $3-4 million listing has the potential to sit for 3-4 months, and has definitely the potential of no one being happy at the end of it. So it's everything's relative. Everything has to be examined. There are no correct answers. There's no, this is the only way. That's the best thing about real estate for me, is that there's no, this is the way kind of thing.
Right. No, that's great point and information. And it's funny, I'm north of Denver about an hour, and our median price in 2012 was about 110. And so completely different market than Seattle, obviously, but now our median price is 285,000. So
there you go. It's double.
Yeah. And Denver's
it's doubling.
Quite a bit higher than we are. They're over 400,000. And the same thing there. They've doubled. It's just more than doubled. It's crazy. And yeah, like you said, so many people are like, oh, it must be a great time to be in real estate. The market's hot. People are buying. And it's a completely different market than I've ever seen because there's no houses to sell. Like you said, it's really hard to make money if there's no houses out there to sell. But you can still do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can totally. Well, look. I mean, again, it's like anything, you put your head down and you work. and the work part, quote unquote work part, is there's so many options for what it looks like to work in real estate. Like there's some things that it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like, well, I don't have any lit clients today, so I'm going to watch cat videos until someone calls me. That's not working. You can't do it that way. But you could sit in an open house and, 5 days a week. You could do that. You could cold call people. You could door knock. You could become a networking kind of guy, and you could start going down the street and talking to every business in your neighborhood and shooting videos, interviews every business owner in your neighborhood and interview them and post them on a local web page that you designed and created, and talk to them about, who that's going to buy or sell that I can help. You can set up classes, learn how to teach first-time home buyer classes. You could, there's an infinite number of ways to work, but you got to do something. You can't just sit and wait and watch. That's not going to ever work.
Right. Are you allowed to watch cat videos at an open house?
You know what? At least you're at an open house, okay? At the very least, you're there doing it. So, yeah, I joke about it, right? But the truth is, I'm really bad about it. I don't watch cat videos, but I do, scroll through Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter and LinkedIn before I get out of bed. And, that's 30 minutes that I'm not ever getting back. I don't really need to do that, but I do find myself doing that far too often. So, it's about having discipline. It's a eat what you kill business, and if you want to be successful in it, those 30 minutes, you just can't mess with those 30 minutes. It's a real discipline to it.
So
it's
true.
Why people make it or don't make it,
Yep. No, it's so true. And I find myself on Facebook, and what I've tried to do is, I have a business page for our team and a business page for my blog. And so if I'm on Facebook, I do my best to be posting or trying to help my business with it, not just, scrolling through everything. And I do my best to ignore any political posts and not get wrapped up in that. Because if I start doing that, that's like 2 hours of my time gone. So, but
right.
Yeah, it's funny too, because my wife she was an agent. She's not anymore since we had our kids. But when we first started, it was early 2000s, and we had cell phones, but not smartphones. And so you go to an open house, and really what you do is you sit there. And, you can work on your business with a notebook or different things. But yeah, it's so much easier today with the technology to go to an open house, to work on other things. At least, like you said, you're there, you're doing something. Mm-hmm. But, just in our office alone, so many agents don't ever show up. Who knows if they're working or not? Who knows what they're doing? But yeah, if you just put the hours in, you work, amazing things happen. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So you latched on to somebody when you first started and kind of forced them to join a team, which I think is an amazing way to get started. I know a lot of people's, the big thing is, how do I learn everything? How do I get started without having deals right away? I think joining a team is an amazing way to do it. And if you can't find a team, like you said, just find someone and create a team for them. Did you know that person with Keller Williams, or did you just look for people who were really successful?
No, I've known her for 20 years. She's a really, really good friend. And I mean, for me, to a large extent, it was a matter of personal integrity to get with somebody, because, even where you are, it's a $250,000 deal, to buy or sell someone's house. And in Colorado, you study for 2 weeks to be able to do that, which gives you absolutely no insight into actually how to buy or sell someone's house. We're the least trained professional in the world. The guy that cuts your hair studied for 10 times the amount that you studied to become a realtor. 10 times for a $20 haircut. They study for 1,000 hours. I looked this up. I actually had a VA go through each state and discover what it takes to get a cosmetology license and a real estate license. And in no state is it less than 10x to get cosmetology. 10x to get a $20 haircut than a real estate license. And I couldn't, with integrity, go to someone and say, hey, let me sell your house, or let me help you buy my house. I just got my license. It would just be the worst possible scenario for that customer. I mean, it's horrible to think that people do that. And people do that. And 70% of the consumer will use the first person that they meet. So if you're sitting in an open house and you're friendly and you seem confident, you can get business. I just couldn't do it with integrity. So I had to go find somebody who would make sure that I did the right thing by the client each time. That's why I did it. I didn't do it for the business. I did it because I couldn't, with integrity, talk to somebody about helping them buy or sell their home, given what I knew about buying or selling homes, which was nothing.
Right. Nope. That's great advice. And I think a really good way to look at it too. I it's not just about making money, but it helps to make money. Obviously, that's a goal for everyone. But if you take care of your clients and you know the business well, the money will come. It's a two-way street. You can't just make money without putting the work in.
That's correct.
No, great that you latched onto a team, joined a team, got into it with someone who can help you along the way. What for you has been the best way to get leads? Is there one single thing? Is it open houses or cold calling or just networking? What has been the best tool for you?
I get about 65% of my business from referral or past clients. And I think the tool that I use the most, you said it, was Facebook. And I have a fairly regular strategy, a regimented strategy with Facebook. I have a lot of personal friends. I have a large sphere, 2,000-3,000 people on Facebook. So that's one thing. And I do run into realtors that don't have that. And, you got to find some other way to do it than this. But if you do know a lot of people or a good number of people and you are out to build that kind of thing, I make sure that I'm active on Facebook every day. I have a little system I use with Feedly. Feedly is a article aggregator. You put in topics that are of interest to you, and it pulls from the web all these different articles. And then I use Hootsuite to schedule them. So always scheduling articles that are of interest to me. Everything from the Seahawks to business marketing stuff to housing information in Seattle to national housing trends. I post various items that are of interest or importance to me and that I think of interest and importance to my sphere, the people I know. So there's always something of interest that people can respond to on my Facebook page. And it's not just, come see me at this open house, come see me at this open house, look at this listing. So little of that. I probably do 10 posts for every one post I do about real estate. And then I have a beautiful family that I enjoy immensely. And I'm always posting. I run into people. I had an open house yesterday. I had 2 different people come in that know me that I don't know, but know me. We're friends on Facebook. And they're like, oh, you have the most beautiful children or whatever, which is actually true. But they know me, they follow my kids' life because I'm so active there. And when it comes time, when they hear of someone who's out to buy or sell real estate, they message me and go, my friend Sarah is about to, wants information about buying in Seattle. And they just message me and tell me that because they know, because there's enough information about my being a realtor on there and there's enough posts about it, which is probably 80-20, maybe 20% of the posts are about real estate. So there's just enough that keep it there and just enough to keep them top of mind. And that's about 60% of my business from that. Then we do, I do everything else. When you have an open house, anytime you have a listing, you should be able to pick up another listing and a buyer or 2 pieces of business from every listing you have. So we run open houses, and I should be able to pick up a bit, the open house yesterday got me 2 leads, things like that. We do internet marketing. We have Commissions Inc. on the team, which is a fabulous platform for drip campaigns and marketing to people and keeping things straight and organized. And, they provide internet leads, which are, internet leads. 1 in 10 will convert in the next 12 months. Then we do networking parties and do a little bit of expired, a little bit of FSBOs. Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think one point that you made that was really good about Facebook, it's kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, jab, right hook, that book. I don't know if you've read it, but it's all about social media.
That's 100% the model. That's great. Perfect. Yes, glad you said that.
Yep. You can't post business. It's got to be, interesting stuff. And once in a while, your business. And with agents, people ask me, I don't want to be selling myself all the time and asking for business all the time. And you don't have to do that. Like you said, people just have to know you're an agent and like you and trust you. And really that's it. And you don't have to sell yourself. That it will naturally come. So that's great information there. And I'm curious, you probably, it sounds like you just use your personal page. Do you have a business page or just a personal page on Facebook?
No, we do have a business page because you can't run ads unless you do a business page. So we have a business page, but no one goes to it. And, or maybe they do. You know, we have reviews on it. We do have our clients give us reviews on it. And it's someplace that people, I suppose, Google and stuff. Although, you know, I'm very egocentric. And if I don't do something, then I don't think anybody else does that thing. And I never use Facebook to look up a business. I don't go to Facebook to discover anything about a business. I go to LinkedIn. I go to Google, but I don't go to Facebook for that. But I think the data proves that I'm in the minority there. So we do have a business page, but I everything that I put on my business page goes on both personal. That's not true. All the articles that I'm talking about from, you know, that I find interesting just go on both personal and business. And it's important that you have content that gets refreshed every day, at least every day, if not a couple times a day, because the more you put on, the better chance you have of it being seen on someone's page. And that's the deal with, you know, Facebook now. The algorithm is so little of what you post actually goes to someone's page. And the only things that really get posted are things that people comment on. So you've got to find things that are of interest and post them all the time.
Right. And I would say too that, you know, because we've done a lot of experimenting with that as far as getting comments, likes, shares, just some kind of, you know, reaction from people. And if you post a bunch of stuff that nobody cares about, I think that can hurt you. Mm-hmm. So like you said, you have to be very careful that you're not just posting 10 times a day that nobody likes, because Facebook will actually send it to less people. But if you're sending stuff that people comment, they react on, then it's like almost less is better if they're reacting, you know, or if you can get them to react all the time, awesome, keep posting, but you got to be careful about over posting junk.
It's really important. I've seen a lot of realtors make this mistake. They really do just sort of post, here's this open house, this house is for sale. No one cares about your business. No one cares about the houses you're listing. No one cares about real estate as much as you do. And they're not supposed to, frankly. I mean, you know, it'd be weird if they did. They care about what they care about. You know, so get interesting. Get interested in what they're interested in. Like I said, I mean, I do a lot of posts about the Seahawks. They're, you know, I love them. I love following them. Everyone in Seattle, I mean, it's as big of a deal in Seattle as any team in any city I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a city universally. I mean, there's people that are sort of like, I don't like football just because they're like, I don't watch Game of Thrones. You know, I'm a vegan, right? Whatever. You know, like that's their badge of honor. But it's like nobody. It's literally nobody in the city is not wrapped up in what happens with the Seahawks. And so it's a super easy way to stay interesting to people.
Right.
And it's really authentic. I mean, it really is authentic. It's really what I'm interested in. I really am interested in them.
Yep. And then you can comment back and know what you're talking about, and people know it's not just a post to get attention. You're actually interested. So, no, great strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and everyone has something. I mean, you talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. His thing was wine. You know, great. Start a wine conversation. Start a happy hour conversation. Start a conversation about hikes, great hikes in your area. Go on great hikes in your area. Do a little Facebook Live, or cheap things to do in Boulder this weekend. Every Friday you post a little thing, a little video of you talking about the top 3 things to do for free in Boulder this weekend. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Have it be interesting.
Yep, exactly. Great. All right. I want to hear about, you know, some of your advice for, you know, home sellers and helping people. But before we get that, one last question. I know I gave you a little heads up on this. A lot of news lately about Zillow and them trying to take over the real estate business and push agents out. I personally am not too worried about it. I think, you know, technology, the business will always be changing. There'll always be a need for agents. We have to adapt to that technology and use it to our advantage. But what are your thoughts about Zillow? And I think it's more news outlets making a bigger deal than it is. But do you think Zillow is out there to try and take over agents or become a broker themselves?
All right. Well, I don't know what Zillow's plans are, so I'm not going to pretend to have any idea what Zillow's actual plans are. I think they're in business to make money, and if there's money to be made there and people will let them do it, then they will make money there and they will do that. not out. I don't think they have some master plan to eliminate real estate agents. They might, and like I said, it's not my job to figure out what their world domination plans are. But they pretty much own, the real estate space right now. And if they wanted to, here's the thing. I don't think they can replace agents. I don't think they can replace good agents. I think they can replace bad agents. And I think there's enough bad agents that they can get a toehold and really change the conversation, because there are enough bad real estate agents. And I don't mean dishonest. I mean just bad. And I think there's a lot of people, and every good realtor listening to this call right now has been on the other side of the table from an agent where you had the thought, I cannot believe this person is getting paid the same amount I am. Every good agent has had that thought, sitting across the table from some schmuck who is either giving away their clients' money or refusing to take money has no idea what the word fiduciary means, like that, like just has no clue as to what their real job is to protect their client's assets. And I think there's enough of those people that, who got their license and they're just like, go, and here I am, I'm going to sit at the open house and pick up clients, and I have no real interest in learning how to do this any better, and I don't really care, and I just am up for the next deal. And I think there's enough people like that, or they're not going to stay up on technology or whatever. So I think Zillow definitely could replace them because they're replaceable. They're going to, the listing agents that put a sign in the yard, put on the MLS, and never call their client back. Mark, how many clients have you picked up where their number one complaint about their past agent was their agent wouldn't return their call?
Yeah, no, there's a ton of them. And even...
That's like crazy. That's like, you wouldn't, I don't even understand that. So those people are replaceable. They can be replaced. And if that's the way agents are going to behave, then they deserve to be replaced, and we deserve to be replaced as an industry. But we have so low standards, such a low bar to entry. It's 2 weeks to get to sell $1 million house. 2 weeks of study, and somehow you now get to sell $1 million house. 2 weeks. It's ridiculously low standards. There's no apprenticeship program. To be a journeyman, there's a thing called a journeyman electrician. There's like journeymen in the trades. To be a doctor, you'd be an intern. To be a lawyer, you'd be an intern. You take, your junior partner. There's a development path in real professions. We don't treat real estate like a real profession. So we will be replaced by the bots if that doesn't change. I have no doubt that's the source of it, though, because we're replaceable. We treat the job like we're replaceable. But at the same time, there's an opportunity to go, you know what? I'm not replaceable. I defend my clients' money. I get more money. I know for a fact that I get 107%. The last 12 months, we've gotten 107% over asking price. And I know for a fact, I just did this conversation with someone yesterday, the agent they were competing with got 103%. We were competing with got 103%. That was a Redfin agent that was going to save them 1% on the sale. Redfin is, again, you might as well talk about them in the same bucket as Zillow. They think that their 1% that they're going to save their client, the customer, is worth it, right? And they're going to pitch them, but they don't promote that they sell houses for 4% less than a professional full-service agent. All right, well, which is better? You want to make 4% more money on the sale or save 1%?
Right. Yep. It's the same argument for sale by owners where
100%.
Yeah.
You're not saving anything. So again, if we're not in the education business, I did this awesome seminar. I'm doing this fabulous seminar with Seth Godin. Are you familiar with Seth Godin?
Yes.
Okay. So it's an awesome webinar, 3-month webinar. And the change in context is you don't look at potential customers as potential customers anymore. You look at them as students, and your job is to educate them about your service. And that's, I think, the most powerful place for us to stand. And if you're a realtor listening to this call and you want to prevent yourself from being replaceable, then start educating people. Start dealing with people that they could be educated about what the process, educated about your service, educated about what it is to buy or sell a home, educated about what it is to, talk people out of buying houses. Become an advocate, become a defender, become someone who's going to protect them. That's not replaceable by a bot.
Right. No, great. It's funny you mentioned all that because I came out with a book this year on how to buy a house, which was just, I tried to include every single aspect of buying a house. And as agents, sometimes, you meet with so many different people, you don't know how much they know. And sometimes people pretend to know more than they do, and you can't go over everything. So I kind of wrote that book just to give to people and be like, hey, if you're scared to ask questions or you don't know something, look it up, educate yourself. But if the more educated they can be, the better real estate can be as an investment, for your personal home. It has so many advantages over other investments. But if people don't take the time to learn about it, it can also be a very bad investment. So
yeah, that's great. That's funny. I have a book coming out very similar, buying or selling real estate. Same conversation, Mark. Really great. We'll have to exchange books and see what each other missed.
Yep, for sure. and I liked what you said about Zillow with the bad agents too, which helps me transcend to this next topic. We have a lot of investors, a lot of people looking to buy properties on my blog and who listen to the podcast. What can they look for in a good agent? What are some signs that maybe can help them know if they're working with someone who knows what they're doing, or like you said, doesn't care and just wants a paycheck?
Yeah, well, I think so a couple of things. One is you really could ask every agent that you are interviewing. First of all, you got to interview agents, okay? If you're an investor and you're not interviewing agents, then you're insane. I don't know what you're thinking, but you wouldn't just put your money in a mutual fund without seeing the track record of that mutual fund. You wouldn't just buy it. You don't buy investment property without looking at the ROI, the cap rate, and the rental history. You don't just go, oh, well, that looks like a nice house, and I think I'll buy it without checking out how often it's been rented. What's the occupancy rate? What's the vacancy rate? Right? People don't do that, except they hire a realtor like, oh, yeah, I like this guy. That's insane. That's insane. So what's the option? The option is you actually interview them. You ask them, what is your list sales price ratio for the last 12 months? No one has ever asked me that question. Actually, that's 100% the reason why I wrote the book I wrote. Because no one's ever asked me that question. What's your list to sales price ratio? Are you kidding? And then what's normal in this area? What's the average? So you can compare apples to apples. And any agent can give you their last 12 months of sales to list price ratio. And if they don't know it on the top of their head, then you got to think, what have they been measuring? How do they know what they do? I promise you, every agent can tell you how many units and how much volume, because that's what they measure, units and volume. That's how they did for them. That's their success rate for themselves. What they don't measure is how much better or worse are they than average in getting more money for their client, or paying less or spending less when they're buyers. They don't measure that, and that's crazy. So I think the number one thing to deal with if you're an investor looking for a realtor is deal with it like that's a variable. All realtors are not the same. And you can tell the difference between the two. You can tell the difference between a good realtor and a bad realtor. A good realtor will have a track record of selling homes for more than average and less days on market. That's what good is, right? Good becomes better than average. And when you find someone who's the best at that, sells money for the most in the least time, that's the best agent in your market. So find that person, or at least ask, right? That's the number one thing I think people can do that they don't do. That if they did, they'd be way less likely to wind up regretting the transaction because they hired a schmuck.
No, that's great information. And I think for investors, I encourage them as well not to just rely on the agent to do everything for them. I think they need to learn the business themselves. And a lot of people want to be, work with an agent who's got investment experience, can tell them what a good, deal is, what the cash flow is. I encourage investors, you need to figure that stuff out yourself and find an agent who has time for you and knows the business really well as far as helping you find those properties. What is your take on working with investors or investors working with agents? Do they have to work with someone who specializes in investment properties?
No, I don't know. Again, it's a track record, and it's also, simpatico, right? Are you simpatico with them? I certainly think investors have a particular set of demands, a certain set of needs, right? A level of attention to, what they pay attention to, that if you found a realtor that's worked with investors is has a quicker, maybe more intuitive, maybe practiced feel for what is important to an investor that's not important to a private purchase, And so there may be advantages in terms of speed and ease of a realtor that works mainly with or solely with investors. The problem I think you find is if you're a realtor and you work mostly with investors, you're doing a lot of that investing yourself. So you're cherry picking. If you tell me you're a realtor that works, that also invests, if you're, it's possible that all your cash is tied up and you can't take this sweet deal. But if you came across a sweet deal, you're not giving it to someone else to take. You would take it. So I think an investor runs a risk of, if you find a realtor that only works with investors, that invest themselves, that invests for themselves, you run the risk of not getting the best deals, right? As opposed to if you found someone who doesn't. I think investors, frankly, the problem is you and I are both in markets where there's so little value for an investor from the multiple listing service. It's ridiculous. There's almost nothing on the multiple listing service that an investor is going to be interested in. Because there's so little inventory in general, so I don't have a lot to say about it because over the last 5 years, I haven't been engaged in a market where there's been that kind of stuff. So when I was just an investor and not a realtor, it was a very different market, and realtors had a lot of different properties to choose from. There's a lot of different properties to show me that would fit my model, but this is not the case now because every flipper and every, yellow letter writer out there has already gotten everything that's not come to market. And then when it comes to market, people want a premium, and investors not interested in a house that requires a premium to buy it. So I think it's a really different market here, and probably where you are too.
Yep. Nope. It's similar here. And that's a great point about working with investors or agents who are investors, because like you said, if an investor comes to me and asks me to find them a good deal, I will tell them I'm not a good person to work with. Because I'm buying properties. That's my main thing right now is investing. It's not helping. So I'll say, hey, you can work with someone on my team. We don't share information. We keep things separate. So there's no conflict of interest, or, there's no hard feelings if you want to work with another agent, because I don't have the time, I don't work with clients much anymore, and I'm not going to be a good person to work with. So I would not feel good about trying to help someone buy an investment property where I'm trying to buy the same house. It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Great. No, great information. One thing we can touch on too is working with investors as an agent can be extremely frustrating too, because there's a certain level of, there's some investors who'll buy a bunch of houses, do really well, but then there's a lot of people who are maybe just starting out and don't know what they're doing, don't ever buy a house. What's your take on working with investors as an agent?
Yeah, that's such a good point, Mark. It really is the case. And I think I always encourage, we get a lot of new agents on the team. People come to the team and they get started. They're excited to get into real estate, so they get started on the team. And then they find some investor that, wants them to show them a lot of houses, and a lot of those investors are just starting out. They just took a class, or, they have the sheets, and they have the spreadsheets and the formulas and the models, and they know what they're looking for. Theoretically, they haven't shopped yet, so they're going to use a lot of the agent's time. And if you're a brand new agent, I think it's fabulous. It's a great way to learn. You're going to learn how to comp. You're going to learn how to do ARVs. You're going to learn how to do, you're going to show houses, and you're going to cut your teeth on, very low-hanging fruit. You're going to, just deal with this person that wants to see a large volume of houses. So it's a way of accelerating the curve, right? At the same time, like you said, they're unlikely to buy any of those houses just because they're looking for a diamond in they're looking for a needle in a haystack. They're looking for just the right piece. So I personally stay away from investors, certainly new investors. And like I said, in the Seattle market in particular, I don't have any faith that they're going to find something on the MLS, and they know that from me. I don't hide that, right? I'm very straight about that information. But I keep those relationships alive, and I talk to them a couple times a year so that, when the shift happens, I have people to call. So, and things will shift because things always shift. So there really is an opportunity to keep those relationships alive, but you do have to sort of build a wall around your time so you're not wasting time. But I don't think there's ever a case where, nurturing any relationship, every relationship is worth nurturing, right? I mean, unless they're just a, whatever you call a taker, where they're never going to, but even then, they know people. I've been referred to people by people that have never done a deal with me.
Right.
People,
Nope.
if I just service and take care of them and provide them great information, they refer other people to me, even though they've never actually done a deal with me. So, I'm in business to help, educate, take care of people. I'll take care of anyone who comes, but I don't go out actively looking for investors because of what you said.
Oh, great information. I completely agree with you. I've had agents on my team come up to me, pretty excited, like, oh, I've got this guy who wants to start flipping houses and he needs us to give him these deals and he's super pumped. And he's like, do we have any houses we can send him? And the first thing I always say is, number one, do you have a pre-qual letter? Have they ever been qualified? And two, if they want to pay cash, have you seen a bank statement? Because I think those two questions weed out about 80% of investors and it can save you so much time. Like you said, that doesn't mean you ignore them and don't ever talk to them, but it gives you an idea of, helping them get started on the right path before you're showing them 20 houses and then realize, oh, wait, they can't even buy this property.
Right. Well, I don't take anyone in a car unless I see a pre-approval letter.
Right.
Or hard money or whatever. They have to. I'm not taking anyone that's just looking.
Nope.
And no one on my team is. No, we're not ever shopping with people that aren't pre-approved. And I do, and it's funny. It's a little chapter, not a whole chapter, but certainly something I mentioned in the book is if you find somebody, if you as an investor and you are not pre-approved, and you find someone who's willing to shop you around before they get you pre-approved, they blow as a realtor. They suck. They have way too much time on their hands. They cannot possibly be a productive realtor if they have enough time to take you around and you're not pre-approved. I would use that as a flag that this person doesn't have enough business.
Right. Nope. That's a great point. Well, I know, Aaron, we've talked a lot about being an agent, being successful as an agent, a little bit about, helping clients out. You've got this book coming out. Is there anything else, any topics you want to cover besides what we've talked about that might relate to the book or helping people?
No, Mark, this has just been fabulous. I mean, when we get off, the call, I want to make sure we exchange information because I want to get you a copy of my book. I want to read your book. Yeah, I mean, my book is called, it's coming out. It's called Moving Beyond Your Blind Spots of What You Don't See Before You Buy or Sell Your Home. And it's just an opportunity for people to look to see what are the psychological, mechanical things that get in the way of you thoroughly investigating and knowing everything there is to know. And there's a section on buying and a section on selling. And it's each of the steps. It's sort of a pathway to buying and selling a home in a rational manner. And what keeps us from making rational decisions when we don't make rational decisions, which we don't make rational decisions. I don't think that should be a shock to anyone, but we're irrational beings. Human beings are irrational. So, that's the book, and people say are interested, they can get my current book, they can get that for free at don'tgetfooledigainbook.com if they're interested, and they get on my mailing list, and then when the new book comes out, I'm just arguing with my designer about covers. But they don'tgetfooledigainbook.com, and they can sign up and get a copy of the How to Interview Real Estate Agents book. It's a short little ebook that they can pick up a copy of. But being on that mailing list will get them information about getting the bigger book when it comes out.
No, great information. And you said one more thing that really hit home with not making rational decisions. I know you show houses to so many people, and it's amazing how many people let emotional or, paint colors or different things, affect a house. It's like something that would take $1,000 to fix, but maybe it's $20,000 less than another house, but that house won't work because the paint's wrong. There's so many cases like that.
Right. Yes. No, it's true. We're crazy.
And we all are. It's not that, that's just how our brains work with so many different things. Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show. Great information. You gave us the website. If people want to get a hold of you, maybe they're looking for a house in Seattle, what's the best way to reach you?
They can give me a call, 206-280-3312. And yes, that's my personal cell phone number. And you can call me anytime. Really, I tell people, you can call me anytime. If I'm not available, I do this weird thing where I don't answer. So you don't ever have to worry about bothering me because if I'm not available, I just don't answer the phone. I call you back within 3 hours. So, yes. So 206-280-3312. You're welcome to call me anytime you're looking for any kind of information. And see if you're an agent and you just want to talk real estate. I love talking real estate. So I'm happy to do that with you. And, thanks, Mark. It's really been fabulous. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been delightful talking to you. I really, look forward to getting to know you too.
Right. No, same here. And thank you for being on the show and taking time out to speak with us. A lot of great information. I agree with, just about everything you said as far as from my experience as an agent as well. So yeah, thank you again. Hope you have a great rest of the week. And yeah, we'll for sure be in touch.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.